What's up, everyone? Welcome to the RRBG. I'm here with Mike Schleibaum of Darkest Hour. How are you, brother?
What up? Live, coming at you live from the dojo here outside of Washington, D.C., doing interviews a la Zoom, man. Thanks for having me on here. And what up?
Yeah, what's up, man? Outside of D.C., I heard I'm trying to avoid the news ever since the whole debacle with the presidency. So, but I did hear that D.C. wants to like become its own state now, or like something like that, statehood. Is that true?
Well, it's interesting that you would hear about that right now, because that has been an ongoing fight here in Washington, D.C. for a really, really, really long time. In fact, so long that our license plate here in Washington, D.C. says taxation without representation. So we have been fighting. It does. In fact, we've been pulled over on tour, harassed at a gas station by a police officer in Alabama because he thought it was the novelty plate because that's what it said.
Wow.
And so that was kind of a wacky story, but we haven't had representation in Congress or the Senate for a long time because we don't have home rule here. So it's been a push. 51 has been a thing, the 51st state. And you're hearing a lot about it now for all you political scholars out there, because the push would be to make D.C. a state. That would affect the Electoral College, etc. And Washington, D.C. is a hugely blue place. So we'll see if it happens. But for us here in Washington, D.C., it isn't really about the Electoral College. It's more about being able to control what happens without having like somebody from Alaska or somebody from Arizona have to approve it. So
I was going to ask, where do you guys fall right now? I mean, is it like you guys are close to Maryland, right? It's not Maryland?
Oh, well, I'm actually in Maryland. So I don't live in the district. I did for a really long time, but I moved across the state line when I wanted to get this amazing dojo and a little bit more space. Plus, I was a little too loud for the communal living of Georgia Ave where we were, but I love the city, and I still go there now, even though it's a ghost town. So, yeah, we're still alive here. It's cool. We would like to be a state, but, it's been an old argument. It's not anything new.
Okay, all right. That's so weird, though, considering that, D.C. is basically like the capital of politics and everything, like the White House and the Capitol Hill and all that shit. You would expect that to be a thing already. Yeah, I don't.
Well, if you're into the founding fathers, which I don't prescribe to being super huge fans of, but let's just go down the road of what they were intending. A deal was struck. In fact, if you're a fan of Hamilton or musicals, you can hear about it. But basically, long story short, the idea was no state had to be a capital or had to have the capital. That way nobody was special. So we made a little place where people really weren't supposed to live. And it was supposed to be this like no man's zone so that no state owned the capital. Only DC's expanded, its residencies expanded, etc. I'm sure there's a lot of great documentaries out there with people who have a lot of time to search for more information on DC statehood. But to put it, shortly, I'm a supporter of it. Everybody that lives around here really is a supporter of it because I think it's a basic American idea that, you get a voice where you live.
Right.
And we live in the seat of the, country, but do not have that, all important representation that would be nice to have. So
true. Yeah.
That's my spiel.
I'm with you, man. I mean, again, I don't get too involved politically. I don't keep up with the news. I don't, and it's getting worse with the pandemic. Like, I'm just, going to focus on.
I encourage people not to just get their news off social media, to try to get it from multiple places. And if you are feeling news fatigue, which is something that a lot of people are feeling, I suggest audiobooks. And the reason I do is because I do a lot of music. I mean, as you can see behind me, constantly music all day. And at some point I want to do something. Also, I'm not around nearly as many people as I used to be. So my brain is just like running through the same ideas over and over. And turning on the television is bad because they run the same ideas over and over, no matter what network you watch. So for me, a nice respite from all this has been Audible, not to plug them, but I do like the app because I'm not a big fan of reading, but I am a big fan of listening. So I've been plugging my brain full of books lately to try to just feed that need, but also just sort of like detox a little bit from the constant news feed that was the past couple months, especially when you live here. And we've had like tanks. We've had tanks in the streets. We've had all sorts of like everywhere you go, there's military people lined up for something, you know, so it's hard to ignore it here. So we don't like to ignore it. What I'm saying is if you need a chance to like stretch your brain, I suggest audiobooks. And a couple of the audiobooks I am listening to that I suggest, just to get into that, are there's this book called The Obstacle is the Way that I really suggest. It's cool. It's a weird like philosophy book, you know. And then I've been reading a lot of stuff I've been listening to stuff that is, you know, kind of about the history of modern race relations. So there's a lot of stuff. There's this book Stamped. It's a simple history of that type of stuff. And it's kind of mirroring what's happening in America, only it's nice to get historical perspective on those type of things. You know, another book I'm listening to is about the American dream and like the different definitions of that throughout the ages or whatever. So for me, I like to scratch that political itch sometimes by just listening to books about history or other philosophy ideas. And it's a good way to, you know, I don't have as many hobbies as I used to because we don't have concerts. So I got to do something, you know?
Yeah, it's funny.
Or I'll drive my family crazy. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I used to be more politically inclined when I was younger. I was all about the, you know, especially like really young, like high school days. I was doing the whole Rage Against the Machine thing. And, you know, I would get really involved. And then lately, in the last 5-6 years, I've just checked out completely. I'm like, nah, I don't know what is going on. I don't know who to follow, especially with the technology advancing to the point where you got deep fake going on. I don't know I don't know what's real anymore. So I'm just going to play video games and listen to music until I die. Is that cool? Can I do that? Leave me alone.
Well, first of all, you are allowed to do whatever you want, man.
Exactly.
You know, especially in the middle of a pandemic, if you need some mental health time, you know, you do you know. I just think that if you're someone that is like, again, feeling political fatigue, and a thing that you can do that's easy is either get involved in something on a super small level. And I'm not even talking about you know, your state politics. I'm talking about like maybe your neighborhood, right? You know, or just your building.
Be part of the community watch, you know,
or not even that. I mean, there's a lot of different things that people are doing now. People are home all the time during the pandemic, so there's all sorts of things. I know that there are groups doing wellness checks on people. That's a thing you can do. I know there are people who did like, snow angels. We have one of our neighbors who went around and just like shoveled snow when it snowed for people who are elderly, who are stuck in their homes because of COVID, and they're still getting deliveries, so they still need to shovel their driveways. And I mean, whatever, like at least you're getting physical, you're out there, you're meeting people, you're interacting, you're not arguing with somebody on the internet. So you know, I like to just, when I can't take it anymore on my phone and my computer, I like to just go outside, you know. And my neighbors are not all like me, they're not all like super into death metal. So it's cool. You get a breath of fresh air, you go, oh, this is what people are like. Yeah. You know, and it's normal to be feeling that way. So, or it's natural to be feeling the way you've explained. So I wouldn't feel any guilt since you had that political awakening in your, you know, youth. And now you've transferred into the life of like, man, I can't fucking take it. You know, it's okay. Yeah. It's in some ways it's designed to be that way to put you off. And that's why I say,
so they can control you, man.
Well, or whatever, or just they control who's voting. Yeah. But if you get involved locally and you connect with your community, that will bounce back at you in the most positive way. And you know, elections happen, but then government needs to happen. So like, you know, let's just hope that we can keep things moving forward, because I want to get back to concerts. I want everybody to be safe, no matter who they voted for. You know what I mean? I want to get back to the point where we can be arguing more about like which of the big four had the best first release, rather than some of the things. But then also maybe it's important that we're talking about some of these things now too. So maybe it's okay that it's a little uncomfortable. Yeah. And then in that moment, it's okay to have the discussion about the big four, because it's also good to like turn your brain off and not just be like news all the time either.
Yeah, yeah.
Music.
It's a tough time for a lot of people that are stuck at home, because that's the thing. You get into these little bubbles, like you were saying, even like a bubble about music, like going out and meeting people. Like if you don't do that, you're at home thinking death metal is all there is. You know what I mean? And then you like meet some strangers and you're like, check out this thing I'm working on. They're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And you're like, oh wait, you don't like you don't listen to metal. Never mind.
This is a great segue, because last year we did our first ever live stream concert. Okay. And when we decided to do it, there was a whole lot of confliction inside the band about how to do it, what to do it, how to make it special, how to go about even the mechanics of doing it. And I'll tell you, as we did it, as we live streamed the video and chatted live with the people and like, you know, connected with the fans, and as we've been doing our Patreon, which is like our own subscription-based service that's all Darkest Hour, we have found a way, although it is not ever going to be as good as when I turn those amps back on behind me and roar at you and shit. Yeah. We have found a way to just connect with people, keep them up to date on what we're doing in a new way, give them brand new things we never gave them. We put out 2 records during the pandemic that are like live records, and the stream record we turned into a record. So we have had a very big, loud political voice in the past in our lyrics, and we've taken parts in a lot of tours that were Register to Vote, you know, all through the Bush era, all through the Clinton era, all through the, you know, the Trump. But in a strange way, I feel like part of our mission for a while has been provide people with music that is a little bit void of that, so that it doesn't also get sucked into all those feelings. Okay. And I know that sounds weird, but like to take it a little farther, like there's a lot of feelings people are having that aren't necessarily associated with issues that are hard for people to deal with. Music is a good place to do that. Yeah. And it's a good place for people to come together, because no matter how you feel about some of these issues, you still have feelings of rage.
Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're angry on a good way. Both sides are angry.
Yeah. And metal's a good way to connect people in all those places, bring them together, remind them that they're human, and then sort of maybe take the edge off that a little bit. Now that's missing. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important as an artist to provide a way for that to exist. And so that's why, you know, you don't see us posting all of the time about what each band member thinks about these very specific issues. I mean, maybe we don't all 100% agree with every detail. I mean, although we do agree globally with the same political mindset we had when we wrote Hidden Hands of a Sadist Nation, which, by the way, all of those lyrics could be all about right now. If you need to get political, just go check out that album. It's about now, only it was in 2003.
Prophets.
And, you know, other than that, we're here to do a band. You know what I mean? And we're going to get back to live shows. I can tell you, I don't know when this airs, but I have been fielding emails and phone calls about tours that are being booked, and people are scampering to get stuff because it feels like there's a tide changing. So if we can get back to a point where we're having live concerts, then we can get back to a point to being in the same room with people. And I think that will hopefully bring some of this era of what makes people feel disassociated enough to just want to play video games till they die to an end, and we can get back to like, yo, come check us out. We're going to play our new album live. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've definitely been feeling more of that itch to get out. And, you know, in the beginning when the pandemic started and the whole lockdown thing, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, you know, let's do what we need to do. You know, I was very gung-ho, like, stay home. Don't, you know, wear a mask. Don't be a dummy. But I'm definitely getting that itch of like, I need to go out. I need to go to a show, man. I miss it.
Yeah, no, it is good to get around people every once in a while, follow the rules. I encourage people to do that because it reminds you when you do get around people that you may have to rehearse being around people again.
Yeah, like you have to remember how to be social.
It's okay to just break that. And then also you see that, like, you know, friendship isn't always about like getting what you need all the time. Sometimes like maybe you've adapted your little situation, but maybe your friends haven't. And just seeing people can be a great way to bridge that gap to when they get to do that again. And we have a lot of people who are suffering through hard times financially and all sorts of things, but also mentally through this whole thing. And so if you can find a way to follow the rules wherever you're at, whatever the consensus is where you're at, because I know everybody's handling it a little differently, then, you know, you can, hopefully you can remember what it's like to be around people every once in a while. I've done it. I have had a few band practices. I've recorded an entire record in masks. I don't have one around here because I don't have one here, but man, we wore masks the whole time, all the making of video, you know, everybody got tested when they needed to. And we played that game. Same thing with the, live stream, man. John had to go, he had to go through getting tested the most, and he did it. You know, we just leaned in. That's what we're used to doing as artists. Like,
adapt.
You know, it's funny when you're in a band, you just get to a point where you're used to everything being fucked up.
Yeah.
So you and your gang get used to it, and you're like, all right, we're gonna go do this, and everything's gonna be fucked up. We're gonna stay positive all the time. We're gonna just be used to it.
Yeah.
And then you just become above it all, you know. And I think that's given us a little bit of strength in this time, because we've been able to just push that into the band, push that into the Patreon, and hopefully, you know, push that into some of these releases, and hopefully push that into touring again here real soon, you know, which we do think is coming pretty soon.
I think so too, and I'm kind of worried about the I think the oversaturation that's going to happen. I feel like the first
it'll be fine.
I feel like the first few months is going to be like,
who cares?
all of my favorite bands are in town playing at the same time.
Nah, you'll be fine. It's not going to happen like that. I don't think so, because the problem is venues, man.
Yeah. There's,
you know, I don't think people have been realizing how much venues have been suffering. And here in Washington, D.C., we've had a lot of the small venues close.
Yep.
A lot of the small cap rooms. So, yeah. And then, you know, you have another problem, which is you have bands like Darkest Hour have a touring history, have a ticket selling history, have an infrastructure to do pre-sales. When we want to get a venue the same day that another band who in another scenario could have gotten that venue because there would have been other competition, doesn't. And then they are forced to go somewhere and be DIY or do their show a different day. And so I do think there's going to be a vacuum. People are going to have to be patient, artists and people that are coming back to shows. We're just going to have to try to work around like this and just hopefully follow the numbers. And if we can get back to some set of rules that doesn't have mass hospitalizations and people dying in the 500,000 range, then we'll be cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But if we go back to normalcy and shit gets fucked up again, well, then we're going to have to change this plan up. Yeah. That's what bands do, and that's what humanity's going to have to do. You know?
Yeah. That's the thing, though. Like, musicians tend to, like you said, put a lot of struggle. There's a lot of shit that goes wrong when you're in a band. Like, tour, you know, maybe the venue when you get there is closed down, the power outage, somebody messes up somewhere along the line, you don't have a place to stay. So there's always this constant adapting that happens to musicians that I appreciate. But a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people have their jobs, their 9-to-5s, and their kind of routine. So when you're kind of like punched in the face by something like this, you're kind of left like, oh no, what do we do? And I think people, this whole thing is going to help people realize that, like, hey, we need to learn to adapt because things are going to change. And this isn't going to be the first pandemic. I hate to break it to you. We're going to have another one at some point. So at least now we're going to be ready for it, I think, or at least prepared mentally for like, okay, well, here we go again, you know? So I don't know. I appreciate that you guys adapted and stayed on top of it with the Patreon and the streams and everything, because that's something that I think not a lot of bands are doing. They should be doing, and they should continue to do after the pandemic. Even after things go back to normal, there should still be this connection with your fans. Like, you know, do more Twitch stuff. Even though you're on the road, you can still do Twitch stuff where you can interact with fans and stuff, you know?
I mean, it's insane how little we were taking advantage of this technology.
Yeah.
This existed before. We could have been doing this interview 3 years ago.
Exactly.
But this kind of parlays to something that I was reading in one of the books I mentioned, which is, and although it's hard to totally pull this philosophy to the pandemic because 500,000 people dying is awful.
Yeah.
Period. But the theory that situations aren't bad, only interpretations are, is interesting because when you're, you know, in a band and you've put out records on 11 different record labels and toured the world, and you're still fighting the same fights, still getting your music flagged on social media and you can't post your own songs, and still trying to get royalties from labels that are changing hands, and, you know, you're moving on and you're tracing an album 10 years ago. How do I get paid from it? You know, this was the obstacle. This was the problem Darkest Hour faced like a year and a half ago. Like, what are we doing? We've been on everything up to a major label. We've been on our friend's label. Like, we've crowdfunded our own album and then licensed it. Like, what do we do? And all my friends were telling me, look, this problem is actually your solution. What you do is change. What you do is come up with something new. And my buddy, first it was my buddy who was into mountain biking, who told me about this website called Patreon, where his buddies did mountain biking videos, and they would go do the tracks and show you the whole track so you could decide where you wanted a mountain bike. Then I thought he was full of shit. I didn't pay attention to him. Then my buddy who produces bands and does all sorts of stuff told me about this photographer friend he had, who was doing a subscription service for his photography, where he told people how he did stuff and offered photos, prints, and was killing it. And then it started to click that, like, Darkest Hour has been making content for 25 years for all these other people.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? And then the Patreon was born before the pandemic. And then the pandemic hit, and luckily we've had a place to land, shift gears, and hopefully sustain ourselves to the end of it, all thanks to the fans. You know what I mean? And that was all due to our ability to see that we had a problem earlier and deal with it. And I think that's from making thousands of mistakes in the past. Yeah. So if I can encourage anyone to take anything from the story of Darkest Hour, it's that we have done a lot. We have made a lot of mistakes. We have looked super cool, and we've had super highs and super lows, and we've been super stupid at the same time that we've looked cool, you know? Yeah. But in the end, as long as you can learn and continue to try new things and find some joy in all that, then you can survive, which in music is a lot of it if you want to be an artist, you know, full time. Yeah,
definitely, man. Patreon's actually what's keeping the podcast alive right now. It pays for all my server fees, and you know, whenever I need new cables and stuff, like, it's the money that comes in through Patreon really does help. And I you know, I don't have that big of a Patreon following, but just that little bit is getting me through. And so a band using it and getting all their fans behind them like this, especially when, like, let's say, for example, throughout the year, you're in your mind, your budget as a fan is like, all right, well, Darkest Hour is coming on tour. I'm going to have to buy tickets to their show and merch and this, that, and the other. Now that there's no tours, that money can go to helping the band directly, you know, send a couple bucks, and you get some cool content out of it, you know, in the process.
Well, first of all, that money, when you bought the tour T-shirt and the tickets, I mean, it did go to the, like, for Darkest Hour, in our sense, it did go to the band directly, because touring was the number one way we were actually sustaining. Yeah. And I want to say that although we are running a Patreon, we are a band. Yeah. So we do understand that our Patreon may end. But the reason that it's, you know, at some point, like, you don't know, nothing's been permanent in this band's history. I mean, somebody invented the internet in the middle of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But if you can see that, like, well, what's carrying us through here are actually, like, our fans are actually the people who love this band. Like, when I subscribe to a Patreon that I like I subscribe to a few just to see, like, what is it all about? How do people do it? Is it cool? Do people like it? Would my fans like it? Would I like doing this? You know? So I subscribe to this guy, Ben Eller. He does a guitar Patreon. You know, I had toured with him. I thought he was a good dude. I was like, I'll throw him $10 a month. He's a good guy. And then I start getting his content, and I like it. And every month I see it getting charged. But I don't have that feeling of, like, oh, I got a budget this much, you know, or this or that. I more have that feeling of, like, fuck yeah, dude, Ben's awesome. I'm going to help him. That makes me feel good. Yeah. You know, like, I can go spend $10 at wherever down the street, but knowing that I'm giving him $9.99 every month, and that I forget about it and it doesn't matter, but that he's out there doing his dream and making his Patreon, and it reflects back at me every once in a while. He does a solo I like to see, and then I like his thing. You know?
Yeah.
That, to me, that's better than where I was spending my money before, wherever it was.
Yeah.
So I just think the basis of all this is people love, fans. I hate to say fans because we think of them more as like friends and, people like us who are just super fanatics about music.
Yeah.
But, our fans are the ones who have held us up and made it so, like, yeah, you can keep making records, and it's no matter what platform we pick. Indiegogo,
Yeah.
Patreon, Victory Records. They've been there. Each one of them has their pluses and minuses.
For sure. I think I like the fan contributions more, and I felt myself throughout this pandemic spending a lot of money on artists and feeling good about it. Like, they're you're putting an effort to keep your band alive. I like your band. I'm going to support you, and it's a win-win. You're helping the band continue to do stuff, and I'm getting cool shit out of it. So to me, it's always a win-win. And for people that are like, oh, I don't know, $9.99 a month, it's like, man, maybe buy 2 less beers that month.
Well, hold up. I don't want to encourage people to buy less beer. That's extreme, dude. If some of my dudes heard that you were suggesting less beer, they would get pissed. I just come out of a place of gratefulness, like where I'm like, I'm fucking floored every month that people keep supporting it. Like, yeah. I'm like, we're in the middle of a fucking insane time. People have money, in the back of their head. They must be thinking, I should hold on to it.
Right.
No, but there's enough people that think, I don't want the world to just become this black and white place, this gray, somber thing without art. So I'm going to spend a little bit of money on it. And there's enough of those people. And it doesn't even take that many. It's not like Darkest Hour has thousands of Patreons, dude. We have under 500. But that's enough.
Yeah.
And when this album 10 comes out, just like all the people who crowdfunded the last album, Godless Prophets, by the way, was crowdfunded by almost less than 2,000 people.
Wow.
Okay. So less than 2,000 people created that entire album that we did with Kurt Ballou, made all the art, made the whole press rollout, got us to license it with Southern Lord, got them all their records made, got them all their records shipped, got them, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We did that together, and it was less than 2,000 people. Now we have an album that has been streamed, over millions of times on Spotify. We've played all over the world, exists in our catalog. And it's weird because there were some little under 2,000 fans that actually were directly connected to that one record. I mean, we have 9 records, but that one, was really driven. And that's what I think the thing that's going to be special about album 10. It's a smaller pack, but it's even more passionate. And I think that's going to provide a really unique album, in a time when people need art.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about album 10. I mean, how long have you been in the works with it? Is it all recorded?
4 years. When did it? I don't even know. I swear to God, it's been a couple of years.
Okay.
Because we put out Godless Prophets. We intended to tour 2-3 years on it. Then we hit the anniversary of Undoing Ruin. People wanted to hear that. We're coming up on the 10th anniversary of Deliver Us. A lot of people have been talking about hearing that. We have a back catalog. We don't like to forget. We don't just like to create and tear down. So we were celebrating the albums we were touring, and then the pandemic hit, and then that made everything harder, made everything slower, and we've sort of had to regroup. But we have a lot of songs recorded. Anyone that's following us on Patreon or in the Instagrams and stuff will know that we've been giving out these demos, because every album we've made, we've probably done hundreds of recordings of these songs, other songs you never heard, other versions you never heard. So we've been doing the same thing with this album 10. I mean, we have playlists and cataloged of Darkest Hour songs. And the question is, when we have it to the point where we have everything we want to say right now in a concise way that flows through a whole album, that blows your brain in a way where it's going to be your favorite one, that we can roll out in the right way so that we can put it in your face. You know what I mean? It's all going to happen. But until then, we're going to keep doing all this other shit and partying with you all until it's perfect. Yeah. Because you get to 10 albums and you go through that arc of having like some albums that a lot of people say our classic, you play it all over the world in their entirety, then, you know, it matters.
Yeah.
It matters what you have to say and when you say it. And it matters that if you put out something that's not your best at the time, what that does to your entire back catalog. So I don't think Darkest Hour is in a position to have to care or answer to anyone about when the album comes out. It's like, when does it come out? I don't know. If you need more Darkest Hour, just check us out on the Patreon. We're fucking there every day.
Yeah.
And if you need another album, why don't you make sure you check out the 9 other ones and all the other shit that's all over the place, because we're working on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's still a lot of songs, there's a lot of albums, there's a lot of stuff that people really who are fans find after they dig into our catalog. And, you know, I think that's why we're proud of it. And I think that's why it takes a minute to create it.
Yeah.
So the answer is we're straight in the middle of making the record.
Okay.
You know, we're like Dr. Dre. We got vaults of demos you already want to hear, but we don't have the chronic yet.
Okay. No, you know, and it's a good time to take your time, because I mean, even if you were to rush it and like put it out now, there's still no shows, and like that's an essential part.
But people
to
need
me.
art.
Yeah, you need art.
We have this conflict where it's like we create. God, we're writing fucking songs all the time, and we're recording them in ways where, man, they sound pretty good. Why not just put them out? But the thing is, you that's a slippery slope for artists, and we have made the decision that when we're dead and gone, we want to be remembered for what's here, and we want that to be as good as it is and what it is.
Yeah.
Not every artist has to make that decision. I think there's a lot to be said for more street opinion that's like, fuck it, I'm just blowing shit out because I'm an artist and I'm reacting and I'm putting. I respect that too. But I think our decision has been, we want to be a catalog band and we want stuff to have impact, and that means not waiting. And I think I hesitate to say one positive thing from this pandemic, but I would say one positive thing from the experience of having to take our time has been that it has given us more time to listen to what the ideas are, listen to each other, and make an album that I think is going to be really well-rounded. Because I think if we had moved faster, we wouldn't have these clumps of songs that have different modes and vibes. And I think that's going to be really cool.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. And do you think it's going to, you know, as you're writing it now, I mean, are you taking into consideration the mental effects of all of this? And is it like a heady album is what I guess what I'm asking. Like, is it more emotional?
Well, first of all, okay. I saw some band put out this thing where it was like the video is like of pandemics, and then like it's doctors and people in masks.
Yeah.
And I'm just like looking at this shit. I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting a panic attack watching this video. Like,
yeah.
No, I think, well, first of all, you're talking to the head of the partying heavy metal shred, get the gear loaded in setup department. I'm not actually in charge of the what's the conceptual theme department. That's John. But I do have a lot to say because I never shut up and he has to listen. And I've been here the whole time. And I'm the one doing the fucking interviews. So I will say that I think that direction is, maybe I should rephrase. The album that I want to make is something, the lyrics speak more to everybody's interpersonal struggle. Like, I'm not saying that John won't write songs that speak to the greater struggle of the world, what people are going through, and of course it's his freedom to do that. But I kind of think more now what I would like when I look through the catalog of the band is that I think the albums that really touch on John's personal struggles and things that were, about relationships he had and things he's gone through as a person connect so far along the line that, to me, making an album that is focused really on his reflection of where he's at now and where things are at maybe might be more interesting to me than his exploration into his state of the world kind of opinion or something. You know what I mean? So that's on a lyrical front, because I do think much like a hardcore past that we're from, the straight edge hardcore early 90s movement of like songs that have meanings and stuff. I think that there is some weight to like what the lyrics say. And then I think there's also a musical front. You know, I mean, I want the music to be a little bit futuristic sounding, but I don't want it to be so out of left field like the self-titled record. I want it to be reeled in and heavy. And I mean, since we're talking on this podcast, we've been experimenting with a lot of lower tunings and different alternate tunings to give songs different vibes. And then sometimes I come back to the regular old Darkest Hour tuning and write a couple songs in that, and we're like, hell yeah. And we've been experimenting with all sorts of different ways we can write on the internet and everything. So I think it's just a matter for us is till, you know, we're going to have a folder one day of a whole bunch of ideas, and we're going to start picking through them. And man, we only need like 8 or 9 to take you on that journey. That feels like an album. So
yeah,
we'll get there.
Okay. I see a drum set. Are you drumming?
Hell no. And I don't sing either.
All right.
But I do have people. This is the dojo behind me, and my entire life, while I know people who are in bands who aspire to have their own home studio, I always wanted my home jam spot. Because more than like recording bands and producing bands, I like jamming with people. So I didn't build a bunch of walls in here, and I didn't build a bunch of separation. Basically, my home studio, although it's like not really fair to say that because I have like the whole floor of this, you know, pretty sizable house here outside of DC that's completely renovated into a studio. So
okay,
kind of cheating. It's not really a home studio, but I've met it's a jam spot. And actually my studio is designed after the studio called Salad Days. It existed in a few different places out in Maryland, closed down, and the singer Brian, he does a band with me and he produces albums sort of out of his house the same way. But the floor you see behind you, the carpet, the molding, the paint on the wall, all that stuff is it literally the same color from the same people, because like I wanted my own little Salad Days in my house, you know, my own little jam spot live room. So this is a live room. So I got kits, I got guitars, you know, and I have friends over, we jam. We, you know, some Darkest Hour songs ideas come from other bands I do. I'll come up with something cool and I'll just like it a lot. And then later I'll be like, you know what? If we just made that a little more death metal, you know what I mean? So sometimes the process of just getting together, and I've done a bunch of cover bands around town, you know, fun stuff, Van Halen, Megadeth, Slayer, you know, just stuff to be a part of the music community around here. And I also record bands here.
Nice.
And another thing I've done is I've done a bunch of television music, scored a bunch of TV. My wife's in television, so I use the studio for that too. So I do miss live concerts more than anything, but I have a lot that I can do creatively to keep things rolling until that happens. So
yeah, it keeps you busy.
Space.
Yeah.
You know.
That's awesome, man. I mean, there is something about jamming with a group of people that I've talked about this before on the show, but it's just there's something there that cannot be described. I can't scientifically explain it to anyone how when you're in the middle of a jam session with a group of people, you can communicate telepathically without saying any words. Like you just the right looks, you know.
The problem is words, and I'll tell you about this. People want to know, like, well, why does it take so long? Like, I mean, what's the problem here with this album? That's, you know, and the album 10. And the thing is, man, Darkest Hour is actually collaborative. Okay, like I don't just sit here with the tune track drum kit from hell. By the way, shout out Superior drummer, love it, whatever. I don't sit here with the computer and just write songs, send it to everybody, and go, yo, that's how it goes. You know, it's a very collaborative experience. And so when you can be together and the mood can be positive, by the way, then you can make those collaborative strides in leaps and bounds fast in ways you've never, it can be magical. You know, you can get a group of people together and it can be really difficult if people don't know how to work around it. And that is what leads people to just writing demos by themselves, sending it around to bands, having people learn it, having them show up to band practice, learn to do the song, it's over. That's not how we operate. So occasionally band practices can become very I don't want to say heated arguments. I'm going to say very communicative processes. And we need the space, man. You need to get up and smell people and feel them. Yeah. Some of your favorite albums were not written on the computer. They were written by people in a room who had feelings, who were feeling something. Yeah. And some of the best Darkest Hour ideas that exist were because someone walked in the room and played an idea under something we had no idea was going to happen. Yeah. You know, a drum beat we didn't think someone was going to play. That wasn't on a demo. You know, a bass line, a vocal line nobody demoed. I mean, that's the best stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so we got to look for enough of that, and then we'll have an album.
I feel you, man. I've tried to. I mean, I was in a band for 10 years, and I've tried to do solo stuff, and I actually started as a solo because I didn't think I was good enough to just like, hey man, let's do a band. I was just like, nah, I have these weird ideas. I'm gonna just put them down, and no one will ever hear them. But now after being in a band for 10 years, I really can't sit here and write music by myself. It doesn't feel right. I feel like I need somebody else to kind of bounce it off of and jam and kind of like, oh wow, yeah, that spark, that vibration, I guess, that people feel, the vibes, bro, that people feel when you work together. I don't know. I honestly, I think that that's one thing that I've learned to appreciate now in the pandemic is missing that collaborative effort with people and being around them. Because, you know, as you get older, like me, I started getting a little like, I don't want to fucking hang out with anyone. Don't call me. You know, this is before the pandemic. I'm like, leave me alone. I got my thing. I'm doing my thing. But now I'm just kind of, man, I wish I could, you know, I miss those group gatherings of just hanging out and people sharing ideas. And that's, to me, that's how we work best as a human race, you know?
Well, hopefully you can use those feelings for fuel.
Yeah.
You know, to motivate you to get out there and get into those situations. You know what I mean? Yeah. And get out there and get around people. And also, to take this in a totally opposite direction, I've gotten into painting during the pandemic because I like doing something that no one else can do. No one else can do, but nobody has an opinion about.
Right.
Like, first of all, fuck you. I'm a painter. Yeah, I suck at painting. I don't care. Okay. I've been dedicating my life to music, and now I'm going to paint. I don't care if I'm bad. Also, what am I going to paint? I don't give a fuck. I'm going to paint cats. I'm going to paint trees. I'm going to paint my dog as a Ninja Turtle. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't matter. It's just fun. And I don't have to collaborate with anyone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just everybody get away from me. I can be creative and I can do something new, and it doesn't matter. And for me, that was a great escape, because I think around the time before the pandemic and the Patreon and the touring that we were doing, the bubble we were in, I think I started to feel like there wasn't any place for me to have some control, because to make everything collaborative all the time, as we've been saying, you have to constantly be giving up control, and to the point where you just become a facilitator of all these things. You know what I mean? And so for me, getting into painting was a way to grab a hold of that. And then I started to like it a lot. Then I started to get concerned that it was taken away from music, until I started to get ideas from painting that lapsed into music. And I started to realize it was okay to have some balance. And then the pandemic hit, and I didn't have any hobbies anyway. So I got more into it. But as soon as we can go back to bars and do shots, I'll be straight there. I might have to cut back on my hobbies.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
because I'm gonna pick up drinking again as soon as it's cool.
So wait,
right now my house is not nearly as cool. No.
Yeah. So you're not drinking as much. I have seen that a lot of people have picked up drinking more in the pandemic.
Well, no, but I'm drinking enough to make sure I got my sea legs in case this shit gets turned on real fast, because I don't want to get too hammered, and I know I'll go hard as soon as this is over.
Right.
So I'm kind of keeping it in the middle.
Yeah, I've been struggling with that, because I used to be I used to work in the beer industry for a while, and I was doing.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah, I was doing.
That's why I don't work around the stash, dude.
Yeah, I was drinking like 6-7 beers a day every day. So now that in the pandemic, I'm not really drinking that much, and I'll drink on the weekends. Like today, I'm gonna drink today, but it's gotten to the point now where it's like 2 beers, 3 beers, and I'm already kind of like, what happened?
Well, that's good. That's good. You know. Well,
I used to have a higher tolerance. I don't know why. Like now, I guess, you know, I guess I got to get used to it when I start going to shows. But like you said, it is good to not be a complete mess, I guess, in public.
Well, I have used this time. I've picked up a lot of great habits here. I mean, you can't tell, but I actually lost 10 pounds, which is weird. But in a
Nice.
good
Good for
way,
you.
in a good way. I picked up doing yoga, which is cool. I do that every day now. I didn't really before the pandemic, trying to work on my posture. I always ran before, but now I've had a steady year of running every day because I'll go running in the morning every day a little bit before I start start my day. So for me, the combination of no more fast food, which is fucking awesome. I mean, when you're on tour,
It's
I
all
can't
you eat.
even
Yeah.
tell you the last time that I ate like fast food French fry. My wife's dudes. She does all the cooking at home, so it's like home cooked meals at a normal time. I'm sleeping pretty regularly because really, I haven't been able. I don't go out as much or stay up as much, and I have more of a motivation to get up in the morning because I got a bunch of stuff to do. I mean, my family's at the house with me here too. They're upstairs, but I have my own space.
Right.
I mean, I'm very fortunate during this time of great craziness. You know what I mean? And so I think that I've hopefully maintained a level of health that will allow me to get back into the ring when this is over. And that's where my vision is every day is just like stay healthy so that like when humanity can bounce back, I can enjoy a little bit before it's over.
Hell yeah.
For me. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. I think that's the most important lesson of the pandemic is, get yourself healthy, make yourself hard to kill. You know what I mean? Make yourself better so that when we get back to work as hard as we can, we're better people overall in every aspect. We're appreciative. We're more appreciative. We're more, we're
For sure.
healthier.
Nobody's complaining about a load in after this, man.
No.
It's like, oh, you want me to load in? I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, you need
I
me
haven't
to
load in forever,
Let me help you with the lighting rig. Hold on.
Okay. I don't want that, dude. Like after my shit gets loaded in, just leave me alone. I'm gonna set up my own shit.
Yeah, man. But I think we're definitely on the right path. I think for recovery of all of this and getting back to the road. I see a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of tours being talked about, a lot of festivals being put together. Which, I mean, they've been doing that all pandemic and having to push it back anyway. But still, it just seems a little more positive with the vaccines rolling out and people feeling a little more comfortable. So I'm excited to it.
I'm no scientist, but I am keeping it positive, and I'm a pragmatist. So I'll, work for small goals. And, I think that's what you got to do. And you got to appreciate what you do have every day rather than being like, I needed to be a certain way, because it's so funny when I hear people talk about, I wish it could be the way it was. Cause it's like, I didn't know a shitload of super happy people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So this is just another thing we're going to have to all work through together to get to being more happy.
Yeah. People are like, oh, I can't wait to go back. Like, I know a lot of you people were sitting in the back of the fucking venue, not really even paying attention to the band when they were playing. I don't want to hear it.
And it is okay to emote, people.
Yeah.
You got to get those. It's okay to feel that way. But when this shit hits, you better be hitting that pre-sale ticket link.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Support, because this is the time. This is the moment.
Well, or soon, I guess.
Right,
we hear the time is coming.
So you recently put out the Live in Lockdown thing, via Patreon. Is there anything in the immediate future? Obviously, the album is still in the works, but do you have something in the immediate future that people can look forward to or start getting ready for?
Well, right now we've given away the audio album of the Live in Lockdown album. It's coming out. What's interesting about this album is, first of all, it's a Darkest Hour Greatest Hits album, kind of, because it's songs like from a live set, only done in a way where it sounds like a little bit better than a regular live record, because it was in isolation, so there wasn't an audience, so
right.
we could record it a little bit tighter and mix it in a way that makes it sound a little bit more like a studio record, even though we played it, in one take. So you have a studio kind of live record of songs that span our 25-year history, kind of have a greatest hits. And what's really cool about this is that because all the songs sort of have the same production, one vocal, two guitars, more classic, it sort of sandwiches all the songs to where they don't feel like they were written in different times.
Yeah.
They don't feel like, they all feel like they could be on an album together, and And so
it's more consistent.
Yeah. So this thing sounds great. It feels great. So it's fun to have, even if you're not like a super big collector. It is cool. Some of these songs to me sound better than the actual versions of them because it's like humans playing them, you know, all together. Like they're not so orchestrated like some of the records. Although I do like how the records sound because they're so epic.
Yeah.
Because you can orchestrate them. So it's a give or take. But, you know, we've given away the audio. In a few days, March 1st, we're also giving away the video. So anyone that subscribes now is going to get the audio, is going to get the video. You can download an hour-long Darkest Hour live in your house concert and project it on your wall or do whatever you want. Watch it on your laptop. Rewind it 1,000 times to figure out how the guitar, bass, or drums go, whatever you're into, you know? And then in April, we're going to be delivering a very special limited to only 500 version, like vinyl record with download code, but you've already got the vinyl, you know, or you already got the audio if you subscribe anyway. But everyone's going to be on a different color, so everyone's unique, everyone's hand signed. So it's like a pretty cool souvenir. And then you'll be subscribed for the next cool thing we do. And we've done other things other than records. We've done wall flags, you know, giant flags for your house. We've done t-shirts, limited t-shirts, you know, 7 inches. We don't just do 12-inch records. So as far as like, what can you look forward to? I mean, we're hot slamming out all the live and lockdown stuff right now, but we have a lot of plans for the rest of the year. As far as what we're doing here on the Patreon, because basically this is our infrastructure to put out music right now. This is our way to get income in and put music out. So we're building towards an infrastructure that will allow us to release, you know, new music. And if you're up on the Patreon, you're going to get the first crack at anything. You're going to get the limited stuff. And you're also going to be able to know in your soul that you helped make it happen. So that's probably the most coolest part. But on top of all that, like I said, we are also just a band, not a Patreon. So we're going to be hopefully coming back to live touring. So once live touring happens, well, if the Patreon still continues to hum, then I'm sure we'll find a way for those to commingle and do VIP meet and greets for Patreons and live stuff that we haven't done any before. You know, I mean, we're pretty good at adapting. So our hope is that as long as people are interested, these things can coexist and become a place where we can release live music and connect with people over touring and do all those things together. And I will say that we also have a text message group that we allow our Patreons to join, which is another way that people can get really connected. So whenever we put something out or do anything, you can just get a text on your phone, which might be annoying to other people, but maybe if you really like Darkest Hour and you want to know what the hell we're up to, it's like, boom. You don't got to be on Facebook. You don't got to be on Instagram. You don't got to be on, well, you do have to be on Patreon, but you don't have to look on Patreon.
Right.
You know what I mean? It comes right to you. And the thing is, when you write back to us, you write back to one of us and we write back.
Nice.
You know, and so, yeah, it's a little bit like a website, except for that you're texting.
Yeah.
So these are the type of things we've just experimented with in just a year. So we'll see. You know what I mean?
That's exciting stuff, man. If you're a fan of the band, like, I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do that. Like, that's...
I think the main problem is to cut you off, but to say what I think the main problem is for most people is that awareness. Like, they don't know, how does it work? What is it? What the fuck are we talking about?
Yeah.
Because, you know, our fans, they speak all different languages.
True.
They live in all different parts of the world. They're not all super sucked into the internet as much as maybe we are. And some of them are more so, but, you know, you can't just assume everybody knows what the fuck you're talking about. And so we have patience, and we've seen the numbers of subscribers go up every month as people understand what we're doing. And also we appreciate that people can't subscribe every month. I mean, how much can you give? So when we lose subscribers, we don't take it personally. We gain more, you know, and we keep pushing it.
Nice, man. And the last thing I have before we go, you guys had a beer with DC Brow.
Oh, yeah. Damn, I got the can around here somewhere.
Yeah, I never got a chance to try it, but I heard good things about it.
Oh shit, it was good. God damn, you didn't try it?
I didn't get a chance, man.
Oh, and you like beer, so let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Okay, so first of all, we like beer, but we like all different types of beer. Personally, I like light Mexican beer.
Okay.
You know, I like Corona. I like Tecate. I like Dos Equis. I also like Heineken, and I like a good. I fucking love a Budweiser. I'm not gonna lie, you know. And I will drink an IPA and get crazy, and so will the other dudes in the band. But we like to drink when we're out of the country, and as we toured Europe, as we, you know, especially the old country, you know, the Germans especially, you can pound. Oh man, my mouth is getting watering. Pound those beers, and just this light, crispy, fluffy kind of just like water, but just with that clean little feeling you get after you just took a little something. You know what I mean? And we discovered this type of beer called Helles, you know, which is like a
Helles
really
lager?
light, kind of clear beer, and we specifically picked a low alcohol content because we don't really like these like 9% alcohol beers. Like, man, we wanted a beer where you could drink like 4 of them while you're at a concert and just, you know, and just like have a buzz, but not have a fucking headache in the back of your head.
Yeah,
and
you
shit.
sweat it out at the mosh pit.
It was a pretty low alcohol content, you know, 4.5 or 5 or something, you know. And we and the guys, we got to go drop the hops in the little brew jammer or whatever the fuck they call it with the safety glasses on and everything.
Mash tun, man.
And they made that whole thing, and man, that fucking beer tasted good. I had cases of it in here.
Nice.
We were giving it away. We were selling it. We couldn't ship it across state lines. Was a bummer, but it sold out everywhere. Yeah, you know, I don't know.
Is that something you want to do again?
Not all good things last forever. And look, we've done all sorts of weird like things that just end like that. Like we did 2 different coffee roasts.
Nice.
Okay. We did an ice cream. The darkest hour ice cream was with a local ice cream shop called Mount Dessert Ice Cream. Mount Dessert. Man, they're gonna kill me.
Creamery.
It's Mount Island Dessert. Mount Island. Man, I don't know, but you can Google that shit. And their local ice cream place. And we did it was like a Jack Daniels infused chocolate, dark chocolate ice cream. And, you know, maybe it was a little heavy on the Jack Daniels, but it was pretty good.
All right, you think you want to do a beer again? Is that something that, because I've seen bands that are kind of like, you know.
It's exhausting because you can't ship a beer. You can't share beer. Like, I don't think people realize, like, the entire reason that Smokey and the Bandit 1 and 2 exist is that there are liquor laws in every state.
Yeah.
You know? So I can't just ship you a beer the same way I could ship you a bag of coffee or ship you a t-shirt. So the beer thing is problematic in that sense, but we love DC Brau. If they wanted a partner again, we would. There's a bunch of other breweries around that are really great. You know, we have a place called 3 Stars that's really cool here too. So I'm not going to rule anything out. I mean, we love beer, we love money. And so neither of those have anything to do with music, but we're into both of them.
Yeah.
So we just try to keep it relatively tamed on the marketing front, so we fall somewhere between Van Halen and Kiss with the level of shit we have. Like, we don't have action figures yet, but we do have multiple different flavors of coffee.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think the key would just be to find a brewery that has distribution in a lot of states, so that way they can, like, you know, they can take care of the shipping legally, because you can ship beer. You just can't tell them that you're shipping beer.
Well,
I usually ship it as live yeast samples because I'm not lying.
Well, do you know the thing about it too, though, is that once you get into bigger batches of beer, it's harder to control the quality of it.
That's true. Yeah.
Part of why it tasted so good is because of the way that batch was, man.
Yeah.
So I think that goes to a bigger thing, which is that everything Darkest Hour touches, whether it's a T-shirt or it's a record, is not mass produced in the same way a Metallica or Megadeth anything is.
Yeah.
So in some way, every little thing we make is limited in a way that makes them all kind of special. And I see fans who have collections of stuff that I can't believe the shit that I forgot we had, so we'll see about another beer, man. We're working on a whole bunch of shit,
Nice. Yeah. Well, all right, man. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for sitting down with me and chatting for an hour.
Of course.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I was saying, I got to go play these guitars here in a minute. I mean, they're calling to me.
Yeah, man. Everybody that's watching and listening, the Patreon. What's the website? Patreon.com.
/ official darkest hour.
Official Darkest Hour. Go there and support the band. Sign up. Get yourself some cool shit. Get that free audio from the live and lockdown. Follow the band on Instagram. It is at darkest_hour_official, I believe.
Yep, that's us. I'm the Riff. I'm at the Riff Dojo.
There you can watch the paintings, the awesome paintings.
I paint some. I put some of my paintings up there. Some pictures of my cat up there, and then I also tell you all about my new signature guitar on that thing. Some other bands I do. So I'm kind of active on my own social media, and I run a lot of the Darkest Hour stuff. So I'm all over the internet, and I'm in your face right now. So how much more do you need? Exactly.
And the new guitar, ESP, right?
Yep.
Hell, signature guitar.
It is. Here, look. You want to see it?
Yeah, let me see it. Oh, look at that thing.
You know what's cool about this specific one? This is the first one that ever came to me. Right?
Ooh.
You can see these little nicks.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking about making it just like all beat up, like the way mine is, but we decided against it, right?
Okay.
But so then this one LTD is one that is like antiqued and all messed up, and it came to me first. So I want to know which one it is, when I'm looking at a row of like 8 of them.
Right.
So I put this thick ass Yoda child sticker on the back, and I call this one the child, dude.
Nice.
And I don't know why it's a special one, because this was the first one.
It's your first baby child, man.
Well, I have the ESP. I have my custom shop, but this is my first LTD, and this is the one that people can buy. And this guitar is awesome, and anybody that's a fan of heavy metal guitar needs to get this thing, and that's my plug.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Well, hey, guys, everybody that's watching and listening, I already plugged everything. Make sure to follow the Riff Dojo, and thanks again, Mike. I appreciate it.
Cheers, man. Party on.
Party on, brother. Take care.